Graham here, living the dream on Saturday the 12th of October 2024. I'm sitting here in seat 4J on board a British Airways 777-200ER from London Gatwick across to Saint Lucia's Fiona International Airport. Right now I'm suffering another complete GoPro failure, which I'll tell you a little bit about just after the introduction. So let's head across to Saint Lucia. Hi, I'm Graham, and this is my wife Fiona, and we have always had a work hard, play hard philosophy. From London to New York, and of course the Caribbean, we live our dream through travel. And of course, the odd cocktail. And here on YouTube, we create our memories while living our dream. So come and join us as we share our memories with you. Let's set the scene for this episode, guys. It's going to be a different episode than I originally planned, which we started at the Premier Inn this morning at London Gatwick's North Terminal. All of the content that I recorded from the hotel across to the North Terminal, the train to the South Terminal, and then the check-in through to the lounge at Gatwick South Terminal, and then the boarding process of this flight across to Saint Lucia, I'm afraid, guys, it's all gone. I'm really starting to hate this GoPro, and I'm seriously considering changing it for another brand because it has become so unreliable. So what I'm going to do, guys, is just start this episode right here as we're about an hour out of London Gatwick, probably over Land's End, heading out over the North Atlantic towards the Azores and then across towards the Caribbean. Just started drinking my gin fizz. The crew on board British Airways have been absolutely fantastic. Check-in process has been superb. There was a 1 hour delay for a technical problem here in the aircraft, which they did keep us up to date with really well. So far, very impressed with this British Airways service this afternoon across to Saint Lucia. So yep, guys, my gin fizz is there. Fiona is sitting over there watching a movie, and let's see how the rest of this journey goes if my GoPro holds out. So basically, guys, if my GoPro hadn't failed on me, I had planned to take you on the journey from the Premier Inn North Terminal across to the South Terminal. However, I've made this journey before, last time in October 2020. So at least I have some footage to show you. And to bring you our check-in experience at the British Airways Club and First section here in Gatwick South Terminal, I had to go back another year to 2019 when Fiona and I headed to the Sandals Grand Antigua for the first time. Luckily for us this year, it was very quiet, unlike back in 2019. Our check-in experience was very good, and the check-in agent at the British Airways Club and First area were absolutely fantastic. We then headed to the BA Lounge at Gatwick South Terminal, and I think I've said this a million times, but the British Airways Lounge at Gatwick's South Terminal is far superior to any British Airways lounge that you will find at London Heathrow. I then had to go back to October 2017 to find footage on the right hand side of the aircraft as Fiona and I headed first to St Lucia and then to Grenada for our second visit to the Sandals Grenada. And as I explained earlier, I've been suffering real issues with my GoPro since we were in Hawaii back in July. For some reason, the camera just decides on its own to format the SD card, deleting everything that I'd taken up to the deletion point. So as I edit this video in early November 2024, I'm undecided at the moment whether to completely give up on GoPro and go to a different brand, maybe the Insta360. So if anyone watching this episode has any thoughts on which camera I should consider, please let me know in the comments below. Our lunch orders had been taken before we departed Gatwick. I'd chosen to start with the pear and cauliflower soup, which I washed down with a glass of Heineken, while avoiding the salad, of course. And you know what, guys, I'd no complaints. It was pretty good. main course was chicken tikka masala, which those of you who probably will remember that chicken tikka masala used to be the British Airways signature dish. And this is what I always used to order on my long haul flights out of London on board British Airways. And that was back before the pandemic, when you used to be able to go online when checking in and choosing your lunch. But sadly, British Airways never brought that back after the pandemic. And as you can see by my empty plate, it was very good. And checking over to see how Fiona was getting on, she was definitely well underway with her lunch as well. And for dessert, there was a very nice chocolate cake with a cup of black coffee. Absolutely perfect. What more did I need? And I have no idea what Fiona was having for dessert, but I know she finished it all. Just over an hour out of Saint Lucia, British Airways served what they refer to as afternoon tea. Basically, cold sandwiches, not very inspiring, and certainly nowhere near as good as the chicken burger that you would get on board Virgin Atlantic in upper class. And as you can see, the seat beside me was free again. And I know that is probably a point that I should have explained early in this episode. Seat 4K, the window seat in the last row of the Club World cabin here, was kept free for crew rest. That meant that the captain, the first officer and the relief pilot each had a few hours rest during the cruise phase of this flight. So I took advantage of the empty seat, set up the GoPro and kept my iPhone at close reach as a backup, claiming my spot next to the window for our approach into Huonora International Airport at Saint Lucia. And for those of you who are interested, right now in the episode I'm looking down at the French island of Martinique and its capital, Port-de-France. Due to the prevailing winds in this part of the world, flights into St Lucia's Huonora International Airport land in a southeasterly direction, and that I think is runway 10 from memory. And yes guys, that means I'm sitting on the right hand side of the aircraft, which means it's the worst side of the aircraft for any views on the beautiful approach, or what should be a beautiful approach today into St Lucia. So going back to October 2020, when we last visited St Lucia on approach, the weather certainly wasn't as good as it was today. But as you can see, if you're on the left hand side of the aircraft, you get an absolutely beautiful view of the island on approach to runway 10 at UVF. So in hindsight, maybe I should have spent the £108 that British Airways wanted me to spend several months ago when a window seat on the left hand side of the aircraft on today's flight was available. But what sticks in my throat, guys, is that £108 is actually £216 when you take into consideration Fiona and I, and multiply that up to a return journey and you get £432 spent just reserving seats on board British Airways. And guys, I just can't justify the spend, because I can find much better things to spend £432 on than just handing it over to British Airways to reserve a seat on board one of their aircraft. So back to today's flight with clear skies and sunshine. I'm absolutely sure the views out of the left-hand windows on board this flight into St Lucia were absolutely gorgeous, while I was just staring out at open ocean. But through the haze, if you look very carefully, you can see the neighbouring island of St Vincent, which is situated just south of St Lucia. As we touch down at St Lucia's Fiona International Airport, how would I sum up this flight on board British Airways in their old yin yang Club World seats? Yep, the flight left just over an hour late and therefore arrived about 45 minutes late here in St Lucia. You know guys, it was a technical issue, but British Airways at the Club Lounge in Gatwick kept us all up to date. So you know, I really can't complain too much about that delay. But without a doubt, the standout of this particular flight on board British Airways was the staff, guys. They were absolutely fantastic, and I would probably go as far to say they were probably one of the best cabin crews we've ever had on board a British Airways long-haul flight. They just delivered a first-class service from departure to arrival. And you know what guys, the cabin crew can just make the difference between it being a good flight and a not so good flight. And this flight, guys, in my opinion, was an excellent flight. Thank you very much British Airways, and a massive thank you to the super cabin crew that we had on this journey from London Gatwick to St Lucia. Guys, I love the arrival into St Lucia. You step out of your climate-controlled aircraft after 8.5 hours travelling all the way across from the UK into the gorgeous, hot and humid air of the tropics. I love it, guys. There's nothing that beats that feeling. Before this short walk to immigration, I'm not sure exactly when the St Lucian authorities changed their immigration process, but for the first time this year, I completed Fiona's and my immigration paperwork, including customs documentation, or should I say declaration, before we left the UK. It wasn't exactly the easiest process, but you know what guys, it wasn't too bad. And it meant we didn't have to fill out those silly little forms that are handed out on the aircraft before you land. And as you can imagine guys, I didn't video the immigration or the customs process. Instead, we went straight through the double doors opposite the customs desks and headed straight to the Sandals Lounge. Yes guys, Sandals have their own arrivals lounge here at St Lucia. Right guys, maybe first cheers.
Cheers. In China.
Yes guys, that first cold piton, even though it was in a plastic cup, went down so well. But you don't end up spending that long at the Sandals arrival lounge at the airport. I think we were there for only about 15 minutes. Enough time to get a drink, use the facilities, and then we were on our way to the bus that would take us to the Sandals Halcyon. As you can see, I managed to call shotgun and I got the front passenger seat, which would certainly help in getting you some content from this Sandals transfer from Fiona International Airport up to the Halcyon in Castries. And I'm afraid to say guys, this journey is the Achilles heel of any Sandals experience here in St Lucia, because ahead of you is around 90 minutes to 2 hours on board what is certainly not going to be a comfortable ride along a twisty mountain road between here in the south and right up to the north where the Sandals Halcyon is located. If you go back to video number 157 here on the channel, I dedicated an entire episode to the Sandals Hotel transfer here in St Lucia. However, there are a couple of health warnings on that particular episode. The first, of course, being that the episode was recorded in October 2020. And for us, that was really the first year of the pandemic. The next thing that I want to say is that particular hotel transfer was to the Sandals Grand Saint Lucia, and it's typically about 30 minutes further north beyond the Halcyon, but I did point out the Halcyon en route to the Grand in that episode. And finally, I did try to inject some humour into that video. I probably shouldn't have, but I couldn't help myself. And from memory, I think I only offended one person. But at the time of editing this particular episode, that transfer video has been seen by nearly 4,000 viewers. So I didn't think I did that bad, only offending one viewer. But no matter how you look at it, guys, it's not a great journey from the airport at Point View in the south to any of the Sandals resorts, the La Toc, the Halcyon, or even the Grand. But if money's no object, you can always do the helicopter transfer, and at the time of editing this video, I checked, it was about $400 each way per couple. We've just arrived in the outskirts of Dennery, which marks the halfway between the airport and of course the capital Castries. So at this point we'd been on the road for just over 40 minutes. A helicopter transfer to Castries from the airport at UVF will take you only about 10 minutes. But also remember, guys, that your baggage will be going by road on this 1.5 hour to 2 hour journey, while you go in the helicopter up to the small airport at Castries, and then you'll be bused to your Sandals resort. And the last thing I'm going to say on the helicopter transfer is it's never guaranteed, because if one couple turn up, it simply doesn't make the flight worthwhile for the helicopter company. The bottom line, guys, they need 2 to 3 couples to make it work. So in the 5 or 6 trips that Fiona and I have made to Saint Lucia over the last 11 years, we've paid the $100 and something each way for a private transfer on one trip only. But to be quite honest, guys, it's simply not worth it. This minibus transfer is included in your Sandals all-inclusive vacation package. So in my opinion, no helicopter trip or private transfer is really worth it. Okay, we're just over an hour into the transfer and we're approaching the outskirts of the St. Lucian capital, Castries. And those of you who've made this journey before will recognise that the driver is taking a slightly different route today. Because when we were in St. Lucia during this trip in October 2024, there was major road resurfacing work going on the main road that connects the north and the south of the island. So you guessed it, this was an even windier approach to the St. Lucian capital, Castries, but it did give us some beautiful views of the city's harbour as we made our approach. And as we make our way through the city streets of Castries, the Saint Lucian capital, on our left and our right now is the market here in Castries. There is of course nothing to stop you booking a taxi at the reception, or should I call it the lobby, at any of the 3 Sandals resorts here on the island, and they'll take you into Castries and arrange to collect you at whatever time you want. In fact, Fiona, Donna, Michael and I did just that on Tuesday, and you will see our trip to the port of Castries and then Rodney Bay on a later episode. So you know what to do, guys, if you want to continue to follow Fiona, Donna, Michael and I as we enjoy our St. Lucian 24 adventure. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon to be notified when our next episode is published, which for this mini-series is 7 AM GMT every Thursday morning. And as we head out of the town centre, or is it the city centre here of Castries, we're approaching the little airport that is simply known as Castries Airport. And you know guys, in all the times that I've made this journey in and out of Castries, I've never seen an aircraft take off on this runway which runs right next to the main road. But if you're staying at the Sandals Halcyon, you will hear the aircraft departing this little airport. And if you're worried about noise guys, don't, because there's not a lot of aircraft movements a day. And what aircraft you do hear departing are all propeller aircraft, heading in a short island hop between here and Castries and places like Barbados and Antigua. So as we leave the small airport at Castries behind us, we're now only about 5 minutes away from the Sandals Halcyon Beach. Both Fiona and I and Michael and Donna were staying in club level rooms, so that meant we were escorted to the club room here at the Sandals Halcyon Beach Saint Lucia. And as I stated in the hotel review 2 episodes ago, this is probably one of the best Sandals club lounges we've ever experienced. And this is a good point to tell you in the episode that I've already recorded and published a full resort and room tour of this resort, the Halcyon Beach Saint Lucia. You just have to go back 2 episodes to number 293 to watch it. And the 4 of us weren't going to be in the club lounge today that long, because about a week before this trip we'd logged in to a respective Sandals Select returning guests app and completed the check-in process online, including registering our credit cards. And it wasn't long until Fiona and I were being escorted to our room, which was room number 604. Crystal Lagoon walkout, swim up, club level room. Yes guys, I know the Sandals room categories are very complex, but again, if you go back 2 episodes, you can also get a full tour of our room and 3 other rooms at this fantastic little Sandals resort. And our first night tradition, every time we visit Sandals, is to go to the Bayside, where personally I always start with Sandals' fantastic French onion soup, followed by their signature chicken dish. And this, guys, is where I bring this first episode on our first day, which is our travel day to the Sandals Halcyon Beach in Saint Lucia during October 2024 to an end. Thank you so much for watching.